Hey, how's it going? I wanted to talk to you today about something that people ask me a lot about, and this is the topic of soulmates. I'm Adrienne Elise. So, what is a soulmate anyway? This is something that a lot of people long for in their life, particularly people who are looking for an intimate relationship, looking for a soulmate. But what does that really mean? Well, in the broader range of things, a soulmate actually can mean a lot of different relationships. It's not just an intimate partnership. A soulmate can be a family member or a work partner or a friend. And so what we're going to do is kind of just talk through kind of what is a soulmate and what isn't a soulmate, and how do we recognize soulmates and how do we call them into our life. So a soulmate is part of a soul group that you're a part of. And the way I've kind of seen it, the way it's been shown to me, is that we have these wider soul groups and then they get smaller and smaller, and our inner soul group is these soulmates. And so we don't have just one. That's definitely a myth out there, that we have one soulmate, and if we don't find that one person, if it doesn't work out with that one person, then we have no chance of ever having a deep intimate relationship. And that's not true at all. In fact, the way these work, if there's a person who shows up and you guys are in alignment, and we'll talk about that, like how do you get into alignment with your soulmate and prepare your life for this energy to come in. But if that person, a lot of people will think it's a soulmate, and then that person isn't willing to go any further, and that means there's actually a better person out there. So if you're having frustrated in relationships and personal relationships where you're finding that maybe there's like unrequited affection on either side, and it always seems like one person wants a relationship more than the other person, that's not a soulmate relationship. So the soulmate relationship, of course, we go through times when we have a strong connection and we'll run, but a true soulmate relationship is actually two people who are ready to move forward together. If they're not ready to move forward together, then that's not the soulmate relationship you're looking for at the time. And so just know that if that person that you would really like to be with, or that person who really wants to be with you, but it doesn't feel right, that if one person isn't showing up for the process, then there is actually a person that's going to be more in alignment with you. And so that's part of what I wanted to talk about today, was this energy of karmic relationships versus soulmate relationships. And understanding that can help you figure out if a relationship is a soulmate relationship, and kind of look at the differences between these things. So so let's just talk about what karma is and the way that I'm talking about it. And this is actual contractual arrangements from other lifetimes where we feel like we owe someone. And a karmic relationship is a relationship that is about teaching us lessons, releasing ties from the past, and releasing entities, energies of the past. That's what karmic relationships are. They are about the past. Whereas soulmate relationships, it doesn't mean they don't have karma involved, but the karma is about building a future together. That's why there's a lot of preparation that needs to happen within our being and vibrationally to come into alignment. If you're saying you really want a soulmate, but that person isn't showing up, then there's some things you can look at as far as like addressing your ability to align with the energy of this soulmate. This can be really greatly addressed and supported in an intuitive session with me if you would like to consider getting that kind of help in order to put that beacon out there to your soulmate. But a lot of times I see people really asking for love and wanting love and looking for this soulmate and just having this deep yearning inside. Now, a lot of times if you have that deep yearning, then there is a soulmate out there. But a lot of times people are actually more kind of satisfied with the yearning of wanting a soulmate rather than when the actual soulmate shows up. So there's this thing around the soulmate fantasy that might be more kind of desirable than the actual soulmate, because soulmates take work. It's not that there isn't karma. There is an opportunity to grow and build an amazing future. So So karmic relationships come into your life to release the past. Soulmate relationships are working on what's keeping you from the future and about building into that future. So that's the main thing to know about soulmate relationships. If you're going to look at them and be like, is this a soulmate relationship? Soulmate is supportive of who you are, okay? Truly and deeply, not just on the surface. So if there's any criticism, belittling remarks, tearing you down, that is not a soulmate. That is a toxic relationship. Now, and this is part of the deal with soulmates. It's like if you're in a karmic relationship that has become toxic and you want the soulmate relationship, you feel the yearning, you know it's out there, that can't come in vibrationally. You know, you're not in alignment, because a soulmate relationship, a soulmate is going to be supportive on the depths of the truth of who you are. And so if you're in a toxic relationship, that is saying that you're not valuing yourself enough to come into alignment with a soulmate. And what happens is that, because sometimes they do come through, a soulmate will show up in someone's life, and if they're not ready for that, they will run. They will feel like there's something horribly wrong with this person. You'll make up all kinds of stories in your head and about why this isn't working and why this isn't good, and you'll sabotage it. And so it's like that's where the whole soulmate fantasy is a little bit more kind of comfortable than the actual reality of a soulmate. Because with a soulmate, you have to be ready to deeply value yourself and honor yourself enough to receive that level of soul support. Now, this is a powerful thing that's been coming through in my intuitive sessions, around the soul groups that are activating on the planet right now. So a lot of the indigo souls came in, especially the first waves of indigos, and every time there's a leap in consciousness, there's a big gap between the consciousness of the parents and the consciousness of the children. This happened really intensely with the first waves of indigos, and it's a feeling of not at all, no opportunity to be validated. So a soulmate can be an incredibly validating person in your life. Someone who has a similar story to you, who can validate you on a soul spirit level, which may or may not have been able to happen in your relationship with your parents because of the consciousness gap. So soulmates are really, really important, and more I'm getting the message that this is how we find our path. So it's kind of interesting, because it's almost like, oh, I have to go out and I have to go to school and learn a bunch of stuff. I have to do some research. I have to do this and that and the other thing. And that will help me find my path. And the message right now is that it's people bringing you your path, other people. So pay attention in your relationships. And that's going back to, like, even though a lot of this video talks about the intimate, personal soulmate relationship, that it relates to friendships and business partnerships and, you know, family, extended family members potentially as well. So why aren't we able to find our soulmates? And this is a really powerful energy right now, as these indigo soul groups are activating, and crystal seed soul groups on the planet. And they're starting to activate, but there's a big level of programming around whether or not these souls should work together. Is in the past, all of these souls have been targeted, especially the indigos, as the first wave of star seeds coming to the planet, targeted for their light. And so then, of course, two lights together makes quite a bit more light and even more of a target. So a lot of programming around playing it safe, playing it separate. Definitely all the indigos have been trained to turn down their light or the truth of who they are by this world. And so meeting another soulmate, someone from your soul group with a similar story, who's gone through similar things in their past lives, and how this soulmate group can be incredibly validating on a soul spiritual level. And I think that is kind of why relationships are so important right now in bringing us pieces of our path, pieces of ourselves. Now, the thing is, though, is that how do we bring these people into our life? So first of all, we have to kind of look at these limiting beliefs around that past life karma and situations, and we have to resolve that karma. Now, this brings me to the kind of other question around soulmates. It's like, how do you recognize a soulmate, and what's the difference between a soulmate and a karmic partnership? So a lot of us look into our relationships and want to find a soulmate relationship, but find ourselves in karmic partnerships. So the karmic partnership is the whole reason these people come into your life is to help you clear karma, to help you clear these contracts and to move forward. And so they're not about building the future. And so karmic relationships are there to kick your butt and get you ready for a soulmate. And so typically the effect of a karmic relationship in your life is to keep you in that feeling small place and not really truly supported on a soul spirit level. So we come back to that as the main identifying factor in a soulmate relationship. And so our karmic relationships can keep us, it's like a net that forms around us. These are karmic relationships, are relationships where we feel like we owe the other person, or they feel like they owe us something, or some sort of balancing in what happened between people in a past life. So when these people are your partnerships, it can be quite tumultuous. And so the purpose, though, of the karmic partnership is to prepare you for a soulmate partnership, to clear these things that are in the way. Now, doesn't mean that a soulmate relationship isn't going to have some karmic contracts, but in the case of a soulmate relationship, the contracts are around whether or not you guys have permission to work together, the power and the potency of you together, and it's about building the future. So if there is karma in the sessions and the readings that I've done, if there is karma between soulmate relationships, it all has to do with some belief system around whether or not they should be together. So this is a really important thing that's interfering with soulmate relationships right now, is the story that what's evolved through time is this religious story that to be a person of God or to be a religious or spiritual person, you don't have love, you don't have intimacy, you don't have sexual relations, you don't have family. And so this has been a belief system way before even Christianity was even conceived of. This was a message that had been implanted even off-planet evolutions before we even got to this earth plane. So this is an old story. And so there, a lot of times I'll see soulmate past life pictures where these people come together and something happens from them working together. They're targeted, something happens, and that they're called together as soulmates, but the religious paradigm of the time says that that's not okay. And so there's a lot of shame around soulmate relationships because these people are people that you've actually worked with in higher spiritual sexual arts in past lives and past evolutions. And so when you come together, there's a lot of magnetic energy there and a lot of potential energy there. And it can this is where the fear comes in, and when some people run a little bit around these relationships. But a lot of it is this programming that's somehow shameful. And actually pure soulmate, spiritual, sexual love is like the highest energy on the planet. No wonder it's been so suppressed, And so this is a huge energy that's keeping soulmates from finding each other, is the shame. It's like it's not spiritual. So, you might want to look at whether you have a covenant within yourself, within some authority energy, false authority energy out there that says, that it's not spiritual to have love. It's not spiritual to have sex, because that we need to get that thrown out of the water and bring back. So what's trying to happen is these soulmate relationships that have worked together in the temples of the ancient past, growing energy, spiritual energy on the planet, are coming back together. And there's a lot of stories that are keeping them from actually finding each other. So there is when we're talking about soulmates in general, though, in general, the people in our life, not just our intimate partners, we have this kind of net around us, and typically, and the net is keeping these soulmates from finding us, and the net is made out of these karmic contracts with other people. So it's really just part of it that we have to go through these karmic relationships to prepare for our higher evolved relationships. And so the best thing with that is to be really present with what this person's bringing you, because it's like this person is bringing you something in a karmic relationship that is allowing you to release and change and shift into the vibrational resonance of that soulmate relationship. So soulmate relationships are, a lot of people ask, how do I call in this person? You know, how do I get into the, bring them into my life? And so it's a vibrational shift. And so by clearing the karma of the old relationships, being really present with what's happening, if you feel like you are dealing with difficult situations with people right now in any area of life, you know that that difficulty is preparing you energetically to receive that higherly, more evolved relationship. And that's where this more evolved relationship, the simple defining factor and way to recognize it, is people that are truly supportive of the truth of who you are. Not who you are on the outside, not what you can give to them, not what's expected of you, not your accomplishments or your money or any of that. This is the true person that you are, deep internally, deep support on that level. So that is what defines a soulmate. So when you can get these karmic contracts cleared out, being really present with the kernels of knowledge that are trying to come through in your current relationships, you are preparing your vibration for that higher evolved relationship. But then we come to the problem of what happens when it shows up. Are you ready? Can you really receive? So a lot of the indigo souls have some deep issues around rejecting the truth of who they are. So this is a big deal to have someone come in your life and validate that part of yourself. What if you've been trying to hide that part of yourself? What if you feel shameful and bad about your light as it's been programmed through generations and through maybe your family experiences in this lifetime? So we have to be ready to receive. That is one of the main energies with the soulmate relationships, is because I've seen so many times, like I said, people just wanting love so bad, but when it shows up, it's incredibly uncomfortable. Because if you deep inside of yourself believe that you are unlovable or don't deserve love, or have all of these stories about covenants with God and all these other stories about whether or not you should have love, but you're saying, I want love, I want love, I want this partner, but you're not really ready and deep in your internal being to love yourself, then how can you expect someone else to do that? And what happens is that if somebody, it does happen sometimes that people show up in your life and they're going to love you through your worthlessness, and that is going to break your paradigm and break your ego. So are you ready for that? Can you handle that? Because your paradigm is that you don't deserve love, and then this person is going to break that law. So your world has to change. And your paradigm and your ego has to break down in order to receive your soulmate into your life. So facing your karmic relationships, being absolutely present with the release, the lesson, the boundary lessons involved, and being open to changing your alignment within your being, to be open to that soulmate, those soulmates coming into your life, bringing you pieces of yourself, validating the truth of who you are on a deep soul spiritual level, and helping you get on your path. And so that's what's available in this potent time that we're in right now. And I hope that you have a wonderful experience on the journey. Until next time, happy soulmating. I'm Adrienne Elise.